Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and pause intermittently here and there to talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. So without further ado, here we go.
Hello, my name is Captain Kelly Muniz, Commanding Officer of Media Relations Division of the Los Angeles Police Department. This critical incident community briefing is intended to provide you with information about an officer-involved shooting that occurred in Central Division in the city of Los Angeles on May 3rd, 2022 at around 12:30 p.m. You're about to see relevant video footage and learn about other evidence and police procedures related to the case, so you can have a better understanding of what occurred based on what we know right now. The LAPD conducts very thorough use of force investigations, which typically require investigators to interview multiple witnesses, view numerous hours of video footage, and analyze a significant amount of forensic evidence. We are still at the very early stages of this investigation, which can often take up to a year to complete, and our understanding of the incident may change as additional evidence is collected, analyzed, and reviewed. We also do not draw any conclusions about whether the officers acted consistent with our policies and the law until all the facts are known and the investigation is complete. A word of caution. The images and information you're about to see may be disturbing. When a police officer uses force to arrest a suspect or defend against an attack, it can be graphic and difficult to watch. In addition, there may be strong language used by those shown in the video. Viewer discretion is advised, especially for young children and sensitive viewers. At around 8:20 a.m., Central Patrol officers responded to an attempt suicide radio call at a residence in the 100 block of West 5th Street. While driving to the residence, the officers received an additional call for a Los Angeles Fire Department backup request at the same location. Here is the call and corresponding radio broadcast for this incident.
Central Unit, ambulance attempt suicide, West 5th Street, apartment B, code 2 incident 1069, NRD 154.
Central Units 1X95, 1X95. Any in the vicinity and 1X95, 1X95 FDs requested backup. West 5th Street, West 5th Street, belligerent patient, 5th floor hallway, scope 3 incident 1069, RD 154.
When officers arrived, they attempted to communicate with the suspect from a distance to de-escalate the situation and encourage the suspect to step out of the residence to be treated. The suspect, however, refused to cooperate with the officers, barricaded himself inside the apartment, and pointed a handgun in their direction. That suspect was identified as Laron Howard James. Notifications were made to Metropolitan Division, Special Weapons and Tactics, also known as SWAT, who responded and began formulating a plan to resolve the situation. Officers assigned to the crisis negotiation team attempted to communicate with James for over 2 hours, working to de-escalate the situation. However, James again refused to comply. SWAT officers then introduced ascending levels of chemical agents into the residence to persuade James to exit. However, he continued to not comply. James then moved to an open window of the apartment, raised his arm, and fired his handgun. As he was bringing the gun forward, once more, an officer-involved shooting occurred. This incident was captured by a witness on their cellular phone. A portion of this incident was also captured on the officer's body-worn video. Body-worn video cameras are used by most officers assigned to field duties. They are worn at chest level and capture a general perspective within the line of sight from that angle. The angle of the camera prohibits viewers from seeing everything the officers saw and experienced. Upon activation, both audio and video will turn on. However, body-worn video cameras have a buffer of video without audio from the previous 2 minutes prior to the activation. This feature is designed to capture incidents that occur suddenly where an officer doesn't immediately activate the camera. Here is body-worn video from the officers involved in this incident.
Yeah, they usually call him.
Hey, Laron. What's his name?
Sure.
What? Ron?
Yeah, Laron.
Laron. Hey, Laron. Can we see both your hands?
My hand right here.
I see right hand. We just want to help you, man. No one's in trouble.
Trouble.
Nobody's in trouble. Just put everything down and come out here so we can talk.
Okay. What you got?
Oh. Come on, Laron. Just come out here. Leave everything on the ground. Let's talk.
What you got?
Who's that?
There ain't nobody here for you, man.
Who's that? A plant?
Do you have any weapons in there? No.
Not a trick question. You got any guns in there or not?
What you got? You got?
Or you don't know?
Huh?
You know what the hell you have in your apartment?
Do you have guns in your apartment? Yes or no?
I don't have a gun in my apartment.
You have knives in there, right?
Yeah, a couple knives. Huh?
Hey, shoot there!
This is nothing on the
Sir! Sir!
Fuck, you got a gun?
Yeah. Back up. Disengage.
All right, so we'll back it on up. So, suicide call. This appears to be an apartment that is occupied by more than one person because they're talking to someone here in the hallway. They ask them if there's any weapons in there. And of course, this person doesn't give them a direct answer, and they even call them out on it. And they're like, you don't know what the hell's in your own apartment? So that tells me that this dude was probably aware of the fact that there was a gun in there and that this guy was not supposed to be in possession of a gun, and he lied about it. Unfortunately, that's damn near impossible to prove unless, you know, the search warrant they ended up getting for his house allowed them to look at this dude's cell phone, and if there was any pictures on there that showed him and this other person with the gun around, then that could be used to prove that this guy knew about it, and then maybe something could be done. But unfortunately, there's just some shit you can't prove, but you know that it's real. Like you know what's up, but you just can't prove it. So that dude knew there was a fucking gun in there, but he didn't want to say anything. And by him not saying anything, he put these officers at risk.
Cause serious bodily injury. Maybe even worse. You need to give up now. This is the last warning. They're telling me I cannot help you anymore. towards the front door of the hallway. Walk backwards. Laron, it's only going to get worse.
After that, let's see vapor.
It's going to get worse,
Roger,
Laron.
let's see vapor going in. We're not moving up. It's going to right.
You have to walk towards the hallway. It's only going to get worse. Walk backwards, Laron. I know it hurts. That window's not going to help you. You have to come to the hallway. There's nothing in the hallway. Make your way to the hallway slowly. You can do it, Laron. Once you get to the hallway, I'll be right there to help you.
Yes.
Come out to the hallway. Slowly walk backwards, Laron, not the window. You can do it. Just do it slowly and focus. Walk backwards towards the hallway, not the window, Laron.
Defensive door on the
The window when he's trying to get his head out farther.
So we'll back this up some. Go really far back. So he's firing some chemical munitions from this launcher here. So this is a most likely a 37 millimeter launcher. It could be a 40 millimeter launcher. Little specialty projectiles that are fired out of it. You can get these rubber bullets that fire out of it. You get smoke grenades that fire out of it, or you can get these chemical munitions that fire out of it. So I'd say there's likely firing some type of CN, CS munition in there. It had a bang effect, so the munition that was going in there had a really loud bang to it. So it was sort of a double whammy, so to speak. You're getting a noise flash diversionary device effect going off, and it's also going to be dispersing some chemical munitions. Then he goes and he looks down to the floor to get, well, I must have skipped it. But you see two grenades laying here on the ground. One.
You need to give up now. Mr. President, it's the police. I told you it's over. You have to give up now. Slowly put your hands up and I can still guarantee your safety. Do it now. Walk towards the door slowly with your hands
It's hard to see what it is.
up.
It has blue on there, so that makes me think it's a CS grenade. This one, it's red.
Walk towards the door slowly with your hands up, holding nothing in your hand.
And it's a OC vapor. So basically this is like a big pepper spray grenade. So OC stands for oleoresin capsicum. That is really the scientific name for pepper. And aerosol OC vapor just means aerosol, kind of like an aerosol can, like a spray paint can. Just means it's going to disperse it in an aerosol type of dispensary. And it's going to put that OC particles in the air. So that's just imagine, if you've ever been around pepper spray before, just imagine a freaking pepper spray grenade, and this is what he has.
Do it now, Laron.
So I don't know if the yelling I don't know if the yelling right after he deploys that is in response to this OC grenade going off, or if he's just screaming because of the other gas that's in there. But it's the timing of it is it's great.
It's only gonna get worse. Walk backwards, Laron. I know it's
All right, so we'll skip forward. We'll get back to this part.
The window when he's trying to get his head out farther out. Both hands.
All right, so these two are set up across the way. They got some pretty cool tripods here with the rifles on them, and you look on this one, it's got a can on it, and it has a can wrap on there to basically mitigate any type of mirage that's coming off the hot silencer. That way it wouldn't affect your ability to see through the scope there. And from this angle we can't really see what's in front of his gun, but I would imagine it probably has the same similar setup.
Clear. I don't see him anymore. I can just see his head. Sierra 3, it looks like he's trying to climb out the window. Oh. Sierra 3, he is trying to climb out the window, and one leg on the ledge. Oh, shit. Sierra 3 shot away. The suspect is down, just inside the window. Sierra 3 shot away.
All right, so I have talked before about LAPD and their radios, their portable radios, and how they never seem to use lapel mics. So we see this officer here. At first, I didn't know what he was fiddling with. I thought maybe it was possible he could have been adjusting one of the back legs on this tripod to have the back end be higher, but it ended up being his radio that he was tinkering with.
And one leg on the ledge. Oh, shit. One leg on the ledge. Oh, shit.
So he did have his hand up here, and then they recognized the shot had been fired, and he got on the gun pretty quick. But this radio that was down here, what if he had that one radio in his hand and he needed to go shoot? One, he would have had to have A, put that radio back on the belt there, or B, just drop the radio out of his hand and put his hand up here on the gun for more support and then fire. That's why I think that the lapel mics that you can attach to the portable radios are a necessary piece of life safety equipment for portable radios when they're being used by public safety. It just makes more sense to be able to have a lapel mic and operate the radio that way versus you reach down to your belt, you pull the radio off the belt or out of a pouch, unfasten some type of retention thing that may be in a pouch, bring the radio up, talk into it, and then bring it back down, put it back in his pouch, and also maybe re-secure a retention strap on it, and then repeat every time you want to talk. Versus, you just take your hand, you reach up to wherever you got the lapel mic microphone speaker at, whether it be on your shirt collar, up on your shoulder, on the if you got a button-up shirt and it's somewhere right there on the button-up seam, you just reach up, talk, or press the button in, talk, let go. Put your hand back where you need to go. Reach up, press the button, let go, put your hand back. That is a so much more simpler process than having to take the radio off the belt all the freaking time to be able to talk.
Serial 3 shot away. The suspect is down, just inside the window.
Just get his hands behind his back. You don't even need to handcuff him. Just can you see the handgun?
Yeah, both are free.
Okay. Okay. Just do me a favor. Hold him just like that. Okay. We have suspect down. And we're in a good spot. We're good to have temps. Just hold what you got. Let's just, if we could get his hands where we could see him would be great. Messenger to 70 and 10 David 10s are working on him now.
So it looked like the officer who fired the rifle was the only one that fired. He fired one round. This goes back to what I talk about with rifles always beating pistol. He fired one round from this rifle, and this dude's pretty much done. If one round from a pistol had been fired, this guy most likely would still be up, moving around, and being a potential threat.
James was struck by gunfire and collapsed inside his apartment, where he was taken into custody. Los Angeles Fire Department personnel assigned to the Tactical Emergency Medical Support Unit, also known as TEMS, who were already at scene to render immediate aid, pronounced James deceased. The TEMS unit is a group of highly trained and experienced paramedics who are embedded with law enforcement officers and capable of responding into active shooter incidents. Their goal is to be able to prevent or reduce the loss of life through rapid extraction and transportation during shooting incidents. Investigators recovered James' loaded semi-automatic pistol at scene and booked it as evidence.
So in the earlier video, you could see him pointing the gun out the window and shooting. But going back to what she's talking about, the tactical medics. So in some areas across the country, there are what's known as tactical medics. Basically, these are medics from whatever provider there is. Some places the paramedics come from the fire department. Some places the paramedics come from a government-ran ambulance service, and then some paramedics will come from a private company ambulance provider. That makeup is different all across the nation, but usually for the law enforcement agencies that have a SWAT team, a critical response team, special response team, whatever name, the dudes who dress up in the ninja shit and go do special stuff. If there's a place with that, then there's a pretty good chance that they have on their team some of the medics from whatever ambulance provider is there. What these tactical medics do is, one, they're already trained as a paramedic, and that's their day job. That's what they go out and do on day in, day out. Being on the tactical team just means that they've been given some extra training on how to move with that tactical team, so they know how to move with them in a line formation, stack up. They know, certain terminology, etc. They are trained in how to use some of the equipment, like gas masks and the body armor. Sometimes night vision, because they don't Some teams don't use white light a whole lot. They may be moving from area to area using night vision, so they may also be trained on how to use that, how to navigate under that. There may even be some teams who train to render some medical aid under nods as well. And there's some that will give them some firearms training as well. Now, obviously their job is not to be a shooter. They're not going to be the first in the door clearing a room. Some, they may give them a handgun for self-defense purposes in case something goes catastrophically wrong and all the shooters on the team become jacked up somehow. Then the medics can defend themselves against a violent aggressor. But they're not meant to go in the door first. They're not shooters or anything like that. Their sole purpose is for life-saving measures, and sometimes some of them are given guns. Not everywhere, but sometimes some of them are. Anyway, going back to this thing. So we see him pointing at the window, and he fires that round, and then he gets popped by that rifle, and then of course he drops the gun. So just seeing this laying on the ground, I can only imagine the anti-police people would be like, "Look, he didn't have a gun with him. It was all the way outside, and they shot him." Blah blah blah. You know, some of those idiots would say that shit. Looking at it before she even says it, I know she's going to say that this is a ghost gun. So let's hear it.
Investigators learned that the pistol was a ghost gun.
Told you.
Investigators learned that the pistol was a ghost gun.
So I don't.
And booked it as evidence. Investigators learned that the pistol was.
So I don't have any ghost guns, but I've seen enough photos of these to know, just based off its shape and then basically the trigger guard, that this is one of those ghost gun kits. Excuse me. Ugh, sorry, had a yawn. Where these are coming from, as far as in California, I don't know. Obviously, you know, the kit comes from a company, and when you buy the kit, basically where you see this hole right there, and this hole, and probably this hole, these are filled when you buy this piece right here. Those holes don't exist. You have to make those holes yourself. So you'll buy this kit. It comes with this frame, and it has a little jig thing in there that you put the frame down into. And there are basically guide holes for you to take a drill press. And I think it even gives you the drill bits to use. And you just drill your holes out. You can make your own holes. Then that makes it the ability to take the internals and put them into the lower. So basically, when these frames, just this tan colored piece, when these tan colored things are sold, they're technically just a chunk of plastic that resembles the lower part of a handgun. And it's not technically a handgun because those holes do not exist. It's referred to as like an 80% lower. And this is the part that is actually considered to be a handgun. The top part, the slide itself, that's not considered a handgun. It's this lower piece, because generally the lower piece will be the thing that has the serial number on it and has the trigger and everything. Of course, the upside or the top side of it will also have a serial number on it too, traditionally. But as far as ATF is concerned, this is the part that is a handgun. So, like I said, they sell these things without the holes in them, and it's basically just a chunk of plastic that resembles a gun, but until you drill these holes out, it's not a gun. So people can get these, and then they can, like I said, they just hold them in that little jig press thing, and it provides the guide holes, and you just bzz, 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 make your holes, put your lowers in there. You can buy the slide and the barrel, assemble those and put it on it, and voila, you've got a working pistol. So, with that being said, this person, this Laron guy, did he buy all this shit and make it himself? I kind of don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I mean, based off how erratic and everything he was fucking acting, I don't know. I just don't see someone like that being able to assemble something like this, having a drill press and doing all this stuff. So, where these things are coming from, I don't know. I would suspect that there's probably some smarter criminals out there who buy these things and they make them and then they sell them to people on the street. So basically, they're illegal arms dealers down there. I think that's probably what's happening, because a lot of these street thugs, like, yeah, some of them are smart, but not, I don't think, smart and incompetent enough to do all this. Now, there may be some that can. You know, there's a gang, there's at least, one or two people in there who's smart enough to do this shit, and they'll do it. But, I mean, the majority of them, no, not at all. So I would say that it's a mix between, there's some people within these groups who are smart enough to do this on their own, and they supply their own people with it. And then I think that obviously those people could also sell, these things to other people on the streets. And then there's, like I said, there's just some people out there that I think that are smart enough to be able to get these things in. They got the drill presses and everything to be able to do this, and they're just assembling guns and they're selling them. And there's just a black market for these things, because why? Because these convicted felons cannot go into a gun store and buy a fucking gun. They get denied when they do the background checks. But, the woke liberal left acts like we don't have background checks. Or we need background checks, we need background checks, we need background checks, we need background checks. Motherfucker, we got them already. That's why these things exist. Because people who have felonies cannot go into a gun store and buy a fucking gun. They have to resort to this shit. This seems to be a thing that occurs more frequently in California. When I review videos from other states, I don't see as often the mentioning of ghost guns or the use of ghost guns like I do with California. I wish I had some more in-depth knowledge about the workings of the ghost guns in California and how that looks like down there. I don't. I'm sure there's some good information out there. I just haven't come across it yet. If you happen to have some more better in-depth, Vice News kind of style knowledge or writings on the ghost guns in California, please, by all means, share those links with me. I would really like to read those. We see that he has a full metal jacket ammunition. He doesn't have any hollow points or anything like that. So who knows where he got the ammo from. I don't know if California requires you to have a license to buy ammo or not. I'm not really sure on that. I just know from other people that California's kind of strict with some of their gun laws. But that's also common with street people. They don't really understand ballistics and everything. And for them, price is also a motivating factor. So sometimes they just buy the cheapest shit, and that could just be regular ball ammo. They don't understand that hollow points can be a little bit better. They just buy what they can get.
Was a ghost gun. Ghost guns are firearms manufactured without serial numbers and require no background checks for purchase, making them undetectable to law enforcement authorities.
So making them undetectable, even if it did have a serial number on it, I don't fully understand how that helps. it helps when a person has it stolen or they lose it, and they can give that serial number to police. And if police were to ever come into contact with the person who was in possession of that and they ran that serial number, then they'd be like, hey, this was stolen 2 years ago, or this was lost 5 years ago. What are you doing with it? That's when it helps. Just knowing a serial number on a gun doesn't help for shit.
Guns are generally homemade from polymer plastic or metal that need minor modifications to make them operable. Laron Howard James was a 54-year-old resident of Los Angeles. In the next several months, the Los Angeles Police Department will continue to investigate and analyze this incident. We will continue interviewing any new witnesses that may come forward and complete any forensic tests. After the investigation is complete, our Critical Incident Review Division will forward their findings to the Chief of Police.
All right, we'll end it right there. So this pretty good, straightforward video. I mean, you can't get any clearer than this. I mean, this dude was waving a gun around. He fired a round off. He was obviously a threat to officers and the general public, and the officers had to do what they had to do. They didn't violate his rights. They did the right thing by A, protecting themselves, and B, protecting the public. This guy was wanting suicide. The paramedics who were originally there to begin with were there because he was suicidal, and then he started to refuse to cooperate with them, and they called police. So this happens a lot. It also happens a lot that there are suicidal people who peacefully go into custody with police, and we never see the news articles on that, right? I mean, that's not interesting enough when someone surrenders and goes with the police. It's just when these people resist that it becomes a popular thing, or a newsworthy thing. When it comes to the suicide stuff and people, talking about social workers needing to go out and do these calls, etc., the police shouldn't go on suicide calls, I actually kind of agree with that to an extent. So if there's a person who calls 911 and says that they swallowed some pills because they tried to kill themselves, then by all means, I don't think police need to go to that call. Paramedics can go there as normal, just like they would go to any other poisoning kind of call. If a person calls and says they're going to hang themselves, again, I don't think the police need to be bothered with that. Fire and EMS can roll, just like they would with any other difficulty breathing kind of call. If someone says that they cut their wrists, I don't think police should go. Fire EMS should go, just like they would on any other massive hemorrhaging kind of call. If the person says they're going to shoot themselves, I can understand police going to provide armed protection for the paramedics in case that person decides they want to do something stupid, like take someone with them. And maybe even going back to the cutting themselves stuff, I could see armed escort for that as well. But as far as the police being there to take any official action on someone, no. That to me is not a police matter. There is no crime being committed when a person says they want to kill themselves. If there's no crime, then there should be no police involvement there. The only time, like I said, police involvement should come into play is if they're providing an armed escort for the paramedics, just for their safety. And even then, at that point, I kind of think that if paramedics want armed protection, then they should just be armed themselves. I think that our police are over the years have been sort of given the jack of all trade stamp, I guess you could say. It's like, oh well, and I think it comes about because they're 24/7. They're out 24/7. They're who you see the most. Yeah, you may have firefighters who are 24/7, but you don't see them out all the time. They stay their ass in the station. Same with medics. Unless something's happening, they stay in the station. Police, they're out all the damn time. They don't just go out when something happens. They're actively out moving around. And so because of that, I think that over time, just by default, they became the first ones to be given some responsibility to go do something. Like, oh, well, you're already out here. You go deal with this shit. And there's just some things I just don't think police need to be involved in. I think it's a waste of resources. Like I said, someone who calls 911 and says they tried to kill themselves by swallowing a bunch of pills, there is no police needed for that. That's a medical call. Someone calling 911 and saying that McDonald's has run out of chicken McNuggets, the dispatcher should just be able to hang the fucking phone up at that point. Like, you're calling 911 over that bullshit, click. This political correctness and talking to someone and having an officer go out and talk to them. If an officer is going to be sent out to talk to someone for calling 911 over fucking chicken nuggets, then that officer needs to be writing that motherfucker a citation or arresting them for tying up emergency phone lines with bullshit. If they're not doing that, they don't need to go out and talk to that person. Fuck them. If someone calls and says they've got ghosts in their closet, there's a haunting in their house, call a church, call someone else. Police, there's no reason for an officer to have to automatically go out to go talk to this person under the whole community policing guidelines and stuff like that. It's fucking useless. It's stupid. No sense in them going out, wasting their time talking to a crazy person like that. So yeah, like I said, I would agree with some of what these liberals are saying when they say, police don't need to be going to these suicide calls or these mental health calls. I do. I certainly believe it. But when it comes to someone waving a gun around and shooting, by all means, that is now a public safety issue. That is a person armed with a gun and being a potential threat to other people. Other people could fall victim to this person just by him shooting his gun around indiscriminately. So yes, police involvement for that is absolutely needed. This guy, he knew what he wanted, and he got what he wanted. Is it sad? Yeah, it's sad, but at the end of the day, when you point your gun and wave it around and you shoot it towards people with no justifiable reason other than, you're suicidal and you want to die, there's only so much the police can do. And the police, at the end of the day, have to act in the protection of themselves and others. And so, like I said, the police did nothing wrong here. I'm sure there's going to be some people who are like, oh, the police, they were just out to want to kill someone. They could have done more. They could have de-escalated, blah, blah, blah. Again, these are people who do not know what the fuck they're talking about. These are people who've had no training in any of this shit, people who've never done any of this shit. These are people who just watch fucking movies and TV and base everything off what they've seen on that. These are the same people who say stupid shit like, oh, the police could have shot him in the leg. No. Obviously, you're fucking stupid and you have no idea about human anatomy. If you knew anything about human anatomy, you would understand that is the dumbest fucking thing. Shooting someone in the leg just to save them. Like, are you so fucking stupid you don't understand that there is a femoral artery in your leg, and if it gets severed, you could bleed to death in 90 seconds. But yet, for whatever reason, we give these people a platform, we give them a voice, and we entertain that bullshit. These people who talk this stupid shit just because they see it on a movie would be no different if you had people who watch shows like General Hospital and what was that other show that was really popular? I forgot the name of it. There's the guy in there that everyone called him as like some McDonald's reference, like McDreamy or something like that. I forgot the name of it, but anyway, it would be like people watching these soap opera shows revolving around a hospital, and then they trying to interject their opinions about how real doctors need to do their fucking jobs. Well, on General Hospital they did this, so you should be able to do the same thing too. Like, no, no. Like you're taking what you've seen in a fucking movie, and you're trying to tell a professional how they need to do their damn job. No, like if that was happening, if that started happening, those people would be laughed out of the room. Everyone would recognize you're fucking stupid. But for some reason, somehow, when it comes to law enforcement, it's like some of these people are listened to. They're given a fucking platform, and they're given a voice, and they're entertained. When realistically, what needs to happen is they need to be laughed out the room. They need to be told, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, I feel like I'm going into a rant. Sometimes that happens. Not much else to say about this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.